It is hunting season for the enemies of Donald Trump and the enemies of America. See, the last week has been very sad and very hard for all of us after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But President Donald Trump is not playing games. Instead of just grieving and crying in his office, well, President Trump is doing what he does best. He's turning emotions and pain, and he's turning it into a purpose, into work. Antifa is now officially a terrorist organization. That's right. The same Antifa that is funded by the Chinese Communist Party and by the Canadian Parliament has been designated by President Donald Trump as a domestic terrorist organization. With it, Donald Trump launched investigations into George Soros, the funders of Antifa, and many, many others. On top of that, Donald Trump this morning did an interview out in the UK next to Prime Minister Keir, and we got a huge update on the Autopen scandal. Ladies and gentlemen, do me a huge favor, smash that thumbs up, subscribe, leave me a comment. Where are you tuning in from? And really quickly before we continue, like always, the sponsor, Verity Metals. Ladies and gentlemen, I trust these people. They are Trump supporters, people of faith, located out of Glendale, Arizona. Matthew Geiger, the owner and founder of Verity Metals, is a personal good friend of mine. Also, IRAs, 401ks, everything in between. Call or text 888-328-6105. Mention Vlad for additional gold and silver on your next order. Links are down below in the description. Let's get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. We're jumping right onto Twitter. That's where I shared everything. So last night, 18 hours ago, Donald Trump posts this. I am pleased to inform our many USA patriots that I am designating Antifa a sick, dangerous, radical left disaster as a major terrorist organization. I will also be strongly recommending that those funding Antifa be thoroughly investigated in accordance with the highest legal standards and practices. Thank you for your attention to this matter. This has been coming for a long, long time. We've needed this done back in 2020. The assassin of Charlie Kirk, he was Antifa. Only Antifa would write on a bullet shell catch. Fascist? Yep. Now, then Donald Trump posted this. This is about voting machines and mail-in ballots. This is what Charlie Kirk fought for harder than anything else. I am going to lead a movement to get rid of mail-in ballots. And also, while we are at it, highly inaccurate, very expensive, and seriously controversial voting machines, which cost 10 times more than accurate and sophisticated watermark paper, which is faster and leaves no doubt at the end of the evening as to who won and who lost the election. We are now the only country in the world that uses mail-in voting. That's a fact. All others gave it up because of the massive voter fraud that occurred. We will begin this effort, which will be strongly opposed by the Democrats because they cheat at levels never seen before, by signing an executive order to help bring honesty to the 2026 midterm election. Remember, the states are merely an agent for the federal government in counting and tabulating the votes. They must do what the federal government, as represented by the President of the United States, tells them for the good of our country to do. With their horrible radical left policies like open borders, men playing in women's sports, transgender and woke for everyone, and so much more. Democrats are virtually unelectable without using this completely disproven mail-in scam. Elections can never be honest with mail-in ballots or mail-in voting. And everybody, in particularly the Democrats, knows this. I and the Republican Party will fight like hell to bring honesty and integrity back to our elections. The mail-in ballot hoax using voting machines that are a complete and total disaster must end now. Remember, without fair and honest elections and strong and powerful borders, you don't have even a semblance of a country. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. At the beginning of the video, I said, the pain that America is feeling, the grief that America is feeling, Trump is feeling it too. Charlie Kirk has been a good friend of his, a personal friend of his for over a decade. Charlie Kirk was one of the first people who endorsed President Donald Trump back in 2015. And publicly supported him. Now, Antifa murdered him. Trump is designating them as a terrorist organization and investigating their founders. And no one fought like Charlie Kirk for free and fair elections and election integrity in this nation. And we got that all in one evening last night. I want to show you this video. Trump today was asked about the Autopen.
Any update on the Autopen?
Yeah, it's just gotten worse from their standpoint. The people that used it, and one in particular, one person was never told by Biden to do it. Only spoke to Biden twice, and that was just talking about the weather, not talking about any order. And he was taking orders from people other than Joe Biden. Joe Biden wasn't giving those orders. You know, Joe Biden didn't believe in open borders. He didn't. I've known him for a long time. He was never the brightest bulb in the ceiling, as we know. You can go back 40 years ago and you'll see that. Go back and take a look at the hearings on Justice Thomas, and you'll see that very much. But he didn't believe in open borders and all of this nonsense that they're peddling now, which is why they're not in office any longer.
I want you to think about this. So Steimer, who's standing next to President Trump, is all about open borders, all about illegal immigration. And Trump is just humiliating him. I love it.
It's a shame. The Autopen was illegal. It was illegally used. He never gave the orders. He never told them what to do. And I guess the only one he signed, or one of the few he signed, was the pardon for his son. But you had the congressman who, when they got the information, they found out they were guilty, and they deleted and destroyed all information, everything. You couldn't get any of it. They found out that Nancy Pelosi actually was offered the 10,000 soldiers, and she turned them down. They found out many things that were very bad. So they deleted and destroyed all information. You talk about freedom of the press and freedom of speech. How about that one? And there's not a thing. This is after a year and a half of hearings. They destroyed everything. And somebody's got to be held responsible. So Biden, what he did is they knew, I don't think he knew, but somebody knew. I don't think Biden had a clue about anything, if you want to know the truth. But they gave a pardon to those Congress people. They gave a pardon. Those people are so guilty. They gave a pardon, but Biden didn't know about it. The people, whether it's Lisa or any of those people in there that really ran it, I know them all. And they're sick people. They're smart people. They're very smart. They're probably brilliant, but they're sick in ideology. And they were running the Autopen, and it was totally illegal what he did. And I hope it's going to be so adjudged.
You want to take one more, then
I want you to listen to the first 15 seconds.
Any update on the Autopen?
Yeah, it's just gotten worse from their standpoint. The people that used it, and one in particular, one person.
So what Donald Trump says, what their investigation has gotten down to is that there were a few people in the Biden administration, particularly one, that in 4 years of working for the Biden administration in some of the highest positions available, that person only talked to Joe Biden twice, 2 times. and not even about pardons. But that person controlled the Autopen. January 6th unselect committee. Joe Biden didn't pardon them. All these other the murderers and rapists from prison, I believe it was a pay-to-play scheme. I believe they went to some of the, like, he released rapists and murderers and drug dealers. They pardoned them with the Autopen. I think the people that truly control the Autopen went to their families and said, hey, for this amount of money in cash to me, your son or your daughter or whatever gets a pardon. I think that's how they ran the Autopen. And I want to show this one. Here is him. Absolutely. About immigration. Listen to this.
And then I told the prime minister I would stop it. And it doesn't matter if you call out the military. It doesn't matter what means you use, but it's going to destroys countries from within. And we're actually now removing a lot of the people that came into our country. It's a very hard chore. We were given a very, very bad hand. Millions of people came in from prisons and mental institutions. We have to remove them. And we are removing them. We have no choice. And I feel very strongly about it. Thank you very much.
And one last thing before I give you I'm going to keep this live shorter than usual, but breaking. Turning Point's board has just unanimously agreed to appoint Erica Kirk as chair and CEO. So Erica Kirk has just replaced Charlie Kirk as the leader, as the chair and CEO of Turning Point USA. It is sad that Charlie Kirk had to be assassinated by an Antifa member, allegedly, for this to have happened. I wish Donald Trump would have done this 5 months ago, 2 months ago, 1 month ago, or 2 weeks ago. It's sad that Charlie Kirk had to die for Antifa to finally be recognized as a domestic terrorist organization. But if he could see us right now, looking down from heaven, I believe because of how much he loves this nation, he says it's worth it. Now, what happens next? Well, the country of Canada openly and publicly donates money to Antifa chapters all across the United States and Canada. The CCP donates money to Antifa chapters all over the world, except in China, because Antifa has been for a long time an illegal organization in China. So they don't allow it there, but they fund it here, just like fentanyl. If you are caught with a grain of fentanyl in China, you will get executed. But they ship it here. But now Donald Trump has taken a massive step in restoring America's prosperity, America's safety, and the future of America looks brighter than it did yesterday. Ladies and gentlemen, I am about to head out the door here soon. I'm going to university to debate some liberals. That's right. My stance is going to be the radical left are violent. Prove me wrong. And if somebody comes up and wants to argue, I'm just going to play them 2 clips. Trump getting shot in the ear and Charlie Kirk being assassinated. That's my whole argument. That's it. That's my whole argument. Oh, maybe I'll even roll the clip of the white Ukrainian refugee being stabbed to death while she's driving home. I don't like Nick Fuentes. I mean, he's got some great points, but there's a lot I don't like. But he said something. So the Ukrainian girl that got stabbed to death, she was a very liberal girl, right? Black Lives Matter, right? She was brainwashed by the Ukrainian left media and then here in America by the liberal media. And right, she had there are pictures of her standing up with BLM shirts. And Nick Fuentes, I saw a clip on Next, says, you know, if she was just a little bit less open-minded, she'd be alive today. She was the only white girl or white person on that bus. You know that there were over 15 other people. Everyone of them was black. She was the only one white who were on that bus. No one stopped them. No one ran over to help her. The people that were sitting next to her on the other side just stood up, walked to the other side of the bus, sat back down, and started looking back down at their phones while she fell over and bled to death by herself. It is disgusting. God bless you guys. Pray for the Kirk family. Pray for Trump. Pray for our nation. I'll see you soon.